Hey guys, and welcome to my full glam romantic makeup tutorial. Let's go ahead and get started. So here I've already prepped my skin with the Clarins Blue Orchid Face Treatment Oil. And I'm sorry in advance if the order of things in this video seems kind of confusing, but you'll see how it turns out in the end. But anyways, first off, I'm going to start with the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. And since I'll be doing my eyes first, I'm going to apply this only on the upper half of my face. So I'm just applying this on my forehead and dragging it down to my temples and also in between my eyes. After the primer, I wait about 5 minutes to let it sink into my skin before I continue with the foundation, which is the Photo Focus Foundation by Wet n Wild. As the primer, I'm only going to apply this on the upper half of my face because to do my eyes first, I have to do my eyebrows. I don't really like the look of my eyebrows on my bare skin, so that's why I'm doing the foundation first. After I've applied the foundation all over my forehead, it's time to blend it out. And as the primer, I'm also blending this down to my temples and in between my eyes. And it should look a little something like this. And then we're moving on to the tape. Here I'm using about 2.5 to 3 centimeters of tape, and then I'm just going to apply this on the corner of my eyes and kind of measure up the angle that I want. Once I found the angle that I want, I'll just dab it gently in place. And then match it to the other side. And voila! We got some tape on our face. And here we are going to move on to some powder to set the foundation that we just applied. And I'm using the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop setting powder. Now let's start with the eyes. For the eyes, I'm starting off with the NYX eyeshadow base. And I'm just going to apply this all over my lids up to my brow bone with my finger to warm up the product. After it's applied all over my lid, I'm taking the Real Technique sponge and blending it out further. To set my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me powder all over my eyes. Then repeat the same steps on the other eye. Now it's time for the brows. Products I'm using are the Anastasia Dip Brow in dark brown and the Anastasia Angled Brow Brush. To start off, I'm just brushing all of my brow hairs upwards and making them more fluffy. Then I'm going into my dip brow and just applying this along the lower line of my eyebrow. When it comes to my brows, I always try to follow the natural brow line, but just exaggerating them a little bit. Once I line my lower brow line, I'm continuing on my upper brow line. By doing this, I'm kind of mapping out the shape of my eyebrows. And once I mapped out the shape that I want, I'll start filling them in. I start filling in the tail of my brow so I can blend myself inwards towards the inner parts of my brows. This way, the color on my brows won't be as dark or strong all over, but it gives you more of a ombre kind of look. And this is what it looks like. And then onto the other brow. And then it's time to clean up the brows. I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer and a flat brush. Here I try not to go overboard with the concealer, so try to start with less and then build it up as you go. To clean up my brows, I try to follow the brow line as close as I can. And when I'm done placing the concealer as I want it, I'll just blend the concealer downwards so there won't be any harsh lines. And here I'm just repeating the same steps on my other brow. Then it's time to move on to the eyeshadow. For the eyeshadow, I'm using the first Jaclyn Hill palette by Morphe. For this eyeshadow look, I'm going to be using this off-white pearly shade and a light warm brown, a medium warm brown, and a darker warm brown. First, I'm going to start with this small detail brush and I'm dipping into the off-white pearly shade and I'm going to apply this on the highest points of my brow bone. After I've applied the color where I want it, I'll just start blending the edges so there won't be any harsh lines. Then I'm going to use this big fluffy brush and I'm going to dip this into the light warm brown shade and I'm going to apply this all over my crease. I am blending this color pretty far up towards my brow bone and it's going to act as my transition shade. And here you can see me going in right by that tape line and you kind of want to bring all of your shadows over here because it will give your eyeshadow this marked line that will give your eyeshadow this cool shape. This is what it looks like so far. Next, I'm taking another fluffy brush, which is a little bit denser than the previous one. And I'm dipping this one into the medium warm brown shade. And this is also going all over my crease, but I try to keep this one lower than the previous shade. This way, the eyeshadow will get more of a gradient effect. And here you can see the difference between the two. And now I'm just repeating the same steps on the other eye. And then we're going in with another fluffy brush, but this one is just a little bit pointier than the other ones. And I'm dipping this one into the darker warm brown shade, and I'm focusing this on the outer corners of my eyes. As you can see, I'm focusing on patting this color in one place where I want it to be the darkest and most opaque. After I've laid it down as I want, I'll start buffing it out. I'm also dragging this into my crease and blending it all the way into my inner corner. And do the same thing to the other eye. Then I'm going in with the first transition shade that we use to blend any harsh lines. And now it's time for the hard part, the cut crease. To start the cut crease, I'm just going to lay the concealer down pretty close to my lash line. And then I'm just going to be looking up, and it will create a guideline for where the crease should be. I've found that the easiest way to create a clean cut crease is to pat the brush flat down against my lid and dragging it downwards, so the tip of the brush will create the clean cut, kind of like a stamp. I also like to take the cut crease in towards my tear duct, as it widens and brightens my eyes a little bit. Once I have the shape that I want, I'll try to blend the concealer in with the eyeshadow on my outer corners. After that's done, I'm going to take this Dose of Colors Ideal Duo Loose Pigment in the color Shell, and it contains both a cream and a pigment. And I'm going to start off with the creamy side, as it's going to act as a sticky base for the pigment. And I'm being super gentle while applying this so I don't interrupt the clean cut of the crease. After we're done with the cream, let's move on to the pigment. And I'm just applying the pigment with the same flat brush that we used both for the concealer and the cream. And I'm just patting this pigment on super lightly because the glitter in this is very finely milled, so one wrong flick and you'll have glitter everywhere. And to act as a transition between the pigment and the outer corners of my eyes, I'm just applying the medium warm brown shade in between and blending it a little bit towards the pigment. And I'm just going to do the same thing with the darker brown shade. Next, I'm going to take this small angle brush and dipping it into the same dark brown shade and applying it right above the cut crease to make the cut crease more lifted. And it also gives it more of a dramatic effect. And then it's finally time to take off the tapes. And then I'm just taking this clean makeup wipe to clean off any makeup that might have fallen on my face. After I've cleaned off all the excess makeup, I'm going to be using my Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Eye Cream. And then I'm going to be taking my Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer and apply it to the rest of my face. Now that that's on, I'm going to wait for about 10 minutes to let it sink into my skin. Then it's time for rest of the foundation. Now I'm just taking the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer to conceal underneath my eyes. Here you have to mind the concealer a little bit so you don't get concealer on your eyeshadow line that you created. And here, as you can see, I've created a line of concealer and I don't really want that. So I'm just flipping my sponge and dabbing over it carefully so I don't interrupt the eyeshadow. Next, to set the concealer, I'm just using the Maybelline Fit Me powder. I find that this powder is very fine and makes my under eyes look very smooth. Next, I'm going to take my NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop setting powder and applying this all over my face. And then it's time for bronzer, and I'm using the Butter Bronzer from Physicians Formula. And I'm just gonna go ahead and contour a little bit with this Anastasia powder bronzer. Here, I'm just taking the Makeup Revolution's lace powder. I just applied this on my sponge and I'm going to clean up the bronzer and the contour. And then it's time for blush. And I'm using this one from Flower Beauty. And I like to apply my blush all the way from my ear to the apples of my cheeks. I also like to apply a little bit on my nose. Then it's time for my favorite part, which is the highlighter. I'm using the Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I'm using the shade Kitty Cat. Here I'm taking this small pencil brush and applying the same highlighter on the tip of my nose and on the bridge of my nose. Then it's time to remove the bake. Here I'm just taking this highlighter from ColourPop called Flexitarian, and I'm just adding this to the inner corners of my eyes and on my cupid's bow. And then I'm going to take this shader brush and dip it into the medium brown shade and apply it underneath my eyes. Then I'm taking this smaller point brush and applying it to the darker brown shade and just do the same thing. And then it's time for the liquid eyeliner. I'm not going to do a wing or anything for this look. I'm just going to apply a thin liner across my upper lash line so it can conceal the lash band of the lashes that we're going to apply. Here I'm just applying a little bit of mascara. And here I'm just using the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. And then I'm just applying a couple of Ardell Wispy lashes. Next, I'm just going to use this Anastasia Clear Brow Gel and go through my brows with this. And the eyes are done. Now we need something for the lips. I'm going to use this Kylie lip kit in the shade Candy K. Here I'm just overlining my lips a little bit before filling them in with the liquid lipstick. And the look is complete. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.